Hey, hey.
How are we
How's it
all?
going?
Another Thursday.
Another Thursday. That whipped around so fast.
Yeah, these weeks are just flying. I'm legitimately scared. I'm going to have a newborn soon. That's how it feels. Like, I'm going to blink and this pregnancy is going to be done. I'm going to be sitting here breastfeeding my newborn. I'm going to be like, I don't know what just happened.
Are you going to blink though? How's the sickness been?
It's actually been fine, but I tell you what's not fine, the pregnancy rage. Like, I am just not, I'm being a real, we'll use a professional wording so I won't actually get myself in trouble, but I'm being a bit of a, let's just say I'm in a really bad mood and just to be careful of being in my way today. I know
Watch
better.
out.
Okay, put it this way. I just had a full-on fight with this girl in my on one of my posts. And I know not to do this, but I'm doing it because I'm like, I'm on a warpath today. But anyway, I have to tell you the story because it's actually quite funny and it made me look like an idiot in the end. So, and I want to share how I dealt with that. So she comments on one of my posts. So it's like literally on my Instagram. It's why I was actually notified about it. And I saw what the comment said. And it said, "Show me your pink G-Wagon." And I was like, I don't have a pink G-Wagon. I was like, is that what you use to measure someone's success? And she goes, no, but when you're using it in your ads, then yes. And I was like, oh, babe, I know what's happened here. Wrong she sells. Mwah. And she goes, no, babe, definitely right she sells. And then she sends me a photo of this ad that we are running that I didn't know about. And the ad, I have to show you, we'll put it up. It's this CGI'd pink G-Wagon with lightning bolts through it, also neon pink. And then on the left-hand side, there's this flame with money burning. And then underneath that, the text is, if sales feels icky to you, and I'm like, this whole post is icky right now. I felt so embarrassed that I just blocked this woman because I couldn't deal with the shame. It's not my finest moment, but I was like, I just can't deal with this today. Sent a very angry, aggressive, passive aggressive is probably a better choice of words in our marketing channel and was like, what is this crap? And then now we're here.
Oh my God.
You've got a guy made this, didn't they? This is there's a guy on your marketing channel because I'm looking at this. I'm like, this fiery, ragey pink G-Wagon was not from a female brain. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but am I wrong?
You're not
Am I
wrong.
wrong? I'm
No, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. I've had absolutely no input in this whatsoever. And I think that's been intentional because I think they know that I would have been like, absolutely, we are not running this. And look, I will say I am not a marketing whiz and I have been so wrong about ads in the past. I've been so scared, especially the one where I'm baking money. I was so scared to put that out to the world. I was like, people are just going to think I'm so out of touch with money and this is ridiculous. And it was our best performing ad. So like, I know I don't have a marketing eye, but come on. Yeah, come on. We can still run an image ad, but does it have to look like that? It's not even.
Oh my God. That is so hilarious. Oh, far out. I think it's like just a testament to, making sure that we do cross those T's. I couldn't imagine seeing something out there that I hadn't seen like that. So I bet you you're going back to the team now being like, hey, I want to see every freaking little ad. What is happening?
They didn't even give me the opportunity to see this one, which is why I was so standing firm on the fact that it's not my G-Wagon and it's not my ad because it's not.
A G-Wagon in Bali? Watch out.
Look, I do joke and say who created that because I can tell from that image straight away that that's not from Brooke's brain. But I will say, from a marketing standpoint, sometimes the weirdest ads do the best. And I, for one, have had to go through that journey of, especially when it comes to a top of funnel or just something out on a Facebook ad, which I would hazard a guess that your marketing team is putting out, what, 10 plus, probably I'd say, what, 30 creatives a week on Facebook ads. They will be firing stuff out there. And I think, yeah, of course, you need to have your brand guidelines and all the rest of it. But when it comes to just capturing people's attention, because it's probably, that's probably a standout that someone's come at you for it. But with that said, it's also probably a really good performing ad. That's why it's getting attention. And if that's the one thing that makes them click through, I guarantee no one will even remember what they clicked on, you know?
They haven't responded to me yet because they're like, it's probably getting us really cheap leads and it's actually probably doing its job. But I am obviously looking at it from my reputation's eye. And I'm like, well, if that's what people are thinking, you know, our whole mission statement is being the best and only putting out the best. And we're all about quality. And then I see that. And immediately my brain goes to, that's Kmart right there. That is absolutely not Chanel. That is Kmart. Why are we putting that shit out? But Alex Hormozy says this perfectly. He talks about the story about the dog with the bacon and the garlic. I won't go into that. I feel like I already have on this podcast before. But that's definitely what marketing is about, right? It's the bacon. It's like something so provocative or sexy or eye-capturing or clickbaity that people actually are going to pay attention to the thing in the first place. And sometimes I forget that. Like my mind, even though I know it, my mind doesn't always necessarily see things through the marketing lens that it should. So
And
anyway,
and
that's a
going
little
into the Meta platform, like now there is the AI creative. And so you put something into the Meta platform, click the AI creative, and you get 20 other options. So it's like insane how fast you can now produce content. And potentially it actually looks like that's probably what they've done. They've put in a concept, spat out a heap of options, but
Well,
that's scary.
Katie, my girlfriend has just decided, well, she's not just decided. This year for her is all about scaling her business. And so she's just invested in a marketing agency. And this is a huge chunk of her revenue. She's spending $7,000 to just receive the marketing assistance. And then that's not including how much money she needs to spend on ads. So she's obviously already very not skeptical, she's trusting, but she's like, I expect to see quality and there's some expectations that are attached to how much I'm paying you. And she sends me a screenshot of one of her ads, which again has been used. Like there's AI images behind the ad. The baby has 7 fingers. The mum has like an extra arm. And she's going, am I being crazy or is this just very careless and terrible? And I'm like, no, that's just terrible. Unless there's a reason that they decided to run with AI images over the thousands of testimonials that you gave them and the extra footage of real clients that you have running marathons and doing all the things, like I would be asking them to fix that immediately.
That is
So
extra lazy. That is a very lazy they would be fired instantly in my book.
yeah.
On the flip side, Meta does at the moment rewards a lot of variety. So I can also understand if they've got lots of certain type of creative. I could not keep count of the amount of times my business partner has said to me, why is this still up? I'm like, ignore the Halloween, it's performing. If it performs, we don't ask questions. I know someone who's been running the same Black Friday creative since 2024. So sometimes you just gotta the if you think about the brands that I'm sure you don't really remember what you clicked on to get there. And if you are always clicking on beautiful things, we are inundated with beautiful things on socials. So sometimes it is the baby with 7 fingers that might be the pattern break that they click through, and then it might perform.
Great. And that's like at the end of the day, that's what we ended up coming to a conclusion, because obviously we can be highly emotional. We see something and immediately we go to spiraling down, right? So she started being like, oh my goodness, my reputation, what are people going to think of me? This is not the brand that I've spent years building and how I want people to come in. But at the end of the day, why did you reach out to a marketing agency in the first place? It's like at some point you do have to just surrender and be like, okay, cool, I'm not the expert in this field. This is not my expertise. I am going to trust. But at what point do you go, okay, like, I don't like that, or like, can you explain to me why we ran with this over that? I think that was a fair, she allowed, she extended her reaction time. So she didn't send something in emotion, but she did end up being like, hey, could we jump on a call to talk about, why we went down this avenue instead of in this one? And I think that was she deserved that justification and she got it in the end.
Yeah. And I think it's a little bit trickier with you as well, Brooke, when your name is, if they click through from you really are the face of the brand. So if I was your marketing team, I'd probably be asking for forgiveness rather than permission as well, because you're always going to see it, that is you, and they're not going to have the same emotional connection to that. They're like, let's get the numbers. So, I'd probably be going behind your back to throw stuff at the wall as well. But it's quite funny that it's ended in the pink G wagon.
Hey, Viv, I wanted to ask you about your AI product photos. Tell us about that. That is super cool.
Oh my God. So people, I mean, some friends they call like, it's all it's all sex toys, it's all jokes, and it's all wow, you and look, I do have some great work stories, but I like to remind people at the end of the day, I really am just a computer nerd and I sit at my computer all day and I do stuff. And ever since AI has come to play, I've been such an early adopter of it, and I'm often spending time watching videos, following people, seeing how they're using it. And I was noticing recently that I would have such specific creative that I wanted to test, and I'd be handing it off to the designer with the angles, the text that I wanted, the angles, even just with the templates, and the time that it was taking for me to piece by piece brief that out to the designer, get them to design it, get it back. Oh, change these things here and there. I was playing around and watching some videos, and I came across this just a great system, which I'd played around with before, but I think when you start, when ChatGPT images come out and you play around with them at the start, and then these platforms are just ever evolving. One of the things I've been playing around with lately is a couple of different tools. So even just for product photos, a friend messaged me yesterday and said, can you help me out with my website? Like what things do I need to change up here? And I said, number one, if you're selling skincare and you want this to look elevated, you don't even need to worry about having a full-on photo shoot anymore. The easiest thing you can do is step one, go and make go on Pinterest, go and make an inspo folder on Google Drive of all these different product shots that you like. So if you're selling skincare or water bottles, go and look up skincare product photography. I want you to get like 10 of those images. Then take one of those images, say it's a setting of someone holding a tube of moisturizer, it's over a bed. Put that image into ChatGPT and put an image of your product into ChatGPT as well and say, give me the nano banana prompt to make this exact same setting, but with my product in it. And so then it gives you the prompt in ChatGPT. You go over to Nano Banana, and then you can only upload your product. So you're not giving it the context of that like inspirational photo. So you're only going to give Nano Banana your product. You give it the prompt from ChatGPT, and it should spit out something pretty amazing, but it's still going to be different from the thing you took inspiration from. So this could be anything from if you're dropping skincare into water and you want it to have the bubbles or something, you want it to look like it's getting a splash. Same thing, put it into ChatGPT, get the prompt, put it into Nano Banana. If you want to have a play around with a lot of different softwares without having to pay for all of the different ones, I quite like Higgsfield for being able to access. I think what was the other one I was playing around with? Flix or something. That was another good image one where I could create 4 different variations at once. So you give it the same prompt, it'll spit out 4 images. You can pick your favorite from that. And if you do need to iterate things, I find if you just redo the prompt in ChatGPT and say, now the logo was a bit weird there, make sure that's in high definition, or why did you magically put a hand in there? Like make sure there's no hands in there, and do it that way and just have a little play around. But if you can learn to speak the language and learn to work your way around those platforms, man, it just makes life so much easier for you. And I can see how you can just whip these images up in no time at all. But I think if you're not playing with the tools, look, I don't think you need to be across everything, but I do think when we're on the cusp of what's new all the time, it is well worth your time to have a play around. So then you can at least figure out if you need to outsource it, what do you need? How long should it be taking them? What's like a realistic output for someone if you're going to outsource it, and what's possible as well. So that means you can give better instructions. That's what I've been playing around with lately. What have you guys been using much AI? You guys don't really have you don't have product.
I've played around with I I've played around with Nano Banana and just like seeing what I can create, but it still feels really fake to me. And my whole brand is built off real transparency, raw, unpolished. And I still find it to be too polished, even though the prompts were saying super realistic, unpolished. So I've only ever used it for like trends. So, when that Scream, there was one trend that went around with the girl sitting on the bed, and this is just before Halloween, and the guy from Scream was standing behind her. Like I've used it for things like that. I've used it to help me prep for the gala because I didn't have any collateral. So I wanted to capture footage and scenes of a gala before, and I put together like a little promo video, which I was really proud of. But I'm curious, Viv, because I am all about AI, and I really do want to integrate it more in the business. And we use it more for like script generators and AI role play bots and just things to sort of enhance the experience. What's your views on using AI as a complete? So I'm sure you both know that there are AI influencers that have millions of followers, and those AI influencers are now promoting coaching programs. And there's one that recently came up where this influencer was like, this person who I've been following and actually being really inspired about is not real. And she's been using my testimonial, like photos of my transformations to promote their own coaching program. And it's not even real. So there's a whole team behind this AI influencer, and they're using fake testimonials. They're pulling images from all sorts of different people, and they're actually signing people up for a whopping $17 or whatever it is. So not only are they undercutting like a lot of what like we're seeing in the coaching space in terms of how much people charge for things, but it's all fake. And it's like, what's real, what's not? Like, because that transformation is actually real, but it doesn't come from that particular person. And that's where it makes me a little bit scared, because I'm like, holy shit, it's a very real question now to ask. Is that real? And what would people value as a consumer? Do they want to see images from AI, or would they prefer to see images that have been taken by someone who's actually worked really hard at designing a brief and all those things? So, like, what's your view on that?
I think that you will be able to like I've seen so many different videos, and it cracks me up when I see that someone's obviously created an avatar. They've found some viral format of a video and they've just doubled down on it, and all of a sudden this page has got hundreds of thousands of followers. People are commenting. I'm like, can you guys not see that this is AI? This is another reason why I like to play around with it, because I feel like, and it's getting harder and harder, but it does give you some, yeah, it gives you some clues, or you kind of get to understand, oh, that actually looks a bit AI, compared to my mum, who sends me a random she said, do you know what she sent me? She said a video from Facebook, and it was like, we will draw your future husband or something. I said, Mum, this is literally an AI video. The guy's mouth isn't even moving the same way. Like, you and how many people have been scammed by this? Same thing, $17. But I do think that it also presents like, look, this is at the start. People will get over it soon. Those people are never going to be able to replicate what, for example, you do, Brooke, on stories in person. Like, it's just going to bring people closer to people, and it will assist you to come up with the branding to be able to spit out, for, this is my mood board, 4 images at once, boom, for the person who maybe can't afford the product photographer, good enough and like luxe enough looking on site for product images. But then in terms of the community space, that good luck replicating the off. I mean, I'd never say never. I'm sure it will come, but you're not going to be able to do that in person. I think on the fly, you can be so restricted. It can be quite frustrating if you are in certain spaces, like the spaces like the sex niche. Do you know how many times I've been kicked back on prompts? So yeah, I think we're gonna, and we've seen it already, right? Like the bring back of in-person events. I think it's just gonna, for businesses like yours and ours, and all of ours, Kind Homes. It's actually presents an opportunity at the same time.
I think it's like such a fine line, and I'm all about real people being authentic, but also on the contrary, if a transformation happens from using a $17 coaching AI bot, but that actually helps you, it's kind of a hard one, because a lot of people can't actually afford the big coaching programs, but maybe they could afford a cheaper version. And at the end of the day, I use ChatGPT constantly to help me grow, and as my life coach. And I can sort of see how that can then be turned into someone that could become then your personal coach. But it's definitely a fine line, and like, where does it stop?
Well, my problem with that is it's not that they're using the AI bot. I'm all for that. It's that they're not saying that it's AI. They're saying that it's real. And that's just lying. So like if they were to come out and be like, hey, like this influencer, I'm actually AI generated, but I'm gonna give you a program that's gonna change your life for only $17. Go for it. Go for it. But they're not doing that. They're not doing that. They are misleading you. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that they don't have discernment like we do. So they would look at that and be like, oh, that body is my dream body. It's completely unattainable. It's not actually real life. And they're telling you that it can be achieved through a $17 program. That is not true.
My God, you can just see the like fitness AI models. It's like, oh God, that's very icky.
I'm not really up to speed with what I know there's been chatter around, I've seen the OpenAI founder talk about it a little bit and around like, okay, we've got to maybe come up with some parameters here. And maybe we're looking down the path of remember when all the influencers had to start doing hashtag gifted or hashtag ad on their things? Like maybe we're coming into a space where once it catches up and people realize that maybe some of these, this program's a perfect example. If that then has negative effects and maybe the people haven't disclosed that it's AI, then what does that fall back on them as a business? I know someone who was creating a business based off AI in the coaching space, and they actually got to a point where they thought we can't actually control it enough, and they have pivoted to something else. But for the same reasons as they were like, okay, so we had it went a bit rogue, and it got someone who, a woman in her 50s and should not have been on like 75 hard as part of her program. And they were like, whoa, 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 that's actually not what we should be doing here. So, because, and okay, maybe that's only going to be 1% of your client base, but that's too many, for them. And I guess that's a case of them having the right values and stuff. But for the people who don't, I'm sure we'll start to see some, like if they haven't disclosed that it's AI and people have bad outcomes, like I don't think that's unreasonable to think that the governments will step in and put their foot down somewhere.
Well, we're seeing it already on the phones. If you're using AI, any kind of AI automation, you have to explicitly say that at the start of the call, which is why we're even seeing that with some call centers. So you'll notice now when you do get a bot, they'll clearly say, "Hi, I am Telstra's personal AI assistant. How can I help you today?" It will actually explicitly tell you that you're speaking to a bot, which I love. But it also means any automation that you're using for, setting a call or any outbound automation AI that you're using, you have to be very, very clear now that you're speaking to an AI. And so that's we personally have tried this just in the DMs by saying, "Hello, this is Brooke's AI personal assistant." No one spoke to us. Literally no one for I think we tried it for a month of actually being transparent and saying, "Hey, this is you're talking to Katie." Well, I'm just using Katie's example. Katie, our AI assistant, do you mind answering a few questions? Nothing. So, yeah.
I mean, they put rules in on emails and data, so there's no reason that won't come into the AI space as well. I mean, I'm forever trying to say to our email contractors like, oh, can't we just do that? And they're like, no, you haven't disclosed, or no, we need to get, especially for our space, no, you can't just get that without like age gating. Otherwise, we can't use the platform and so on and so forth. So, that used to be a wild west, right, with all third party tracking and all, serious retargeting with things like meta ads, and that's all been pulled back. So I think we're just like off to the races at the moment, and then there'll probably be a little bit of whoopsie daisy, and then it'll get pulled back.
Yeah. Love a bit of whoopsie daisy. What's new with you, Katie?
Oh, I just same old property, property, property. Yeah, we're sort of busy now, back into it for the year. So, yeah, sort of said we started off with a bang. I think we had about 11 projects under contract. Now that that's happening, we're going through the process of the due diligence on all of them. So, yeah, lots and lots of work. But something I was sort of thinking about this week that I kind of wanted to bring to the table was just sort of a few strategies for anyone that is kind of, in business, maybe wanting to step out into the property space. Because there has been quite a few tips along the way that some of them learnt through mistakes. But one of them for any of our sort of new business owners, anyone that's kind of just started out, a lot of people think that you sort of have to wait for, say, 2 years, for your business to show profit, for you then to go to a mortgage broker to get a loan. But something that we have used in previous years is something called alt doc lending or alternate doc lending. So this is really good for anyone listening that is maybe starting out in business, hasn't yet got their 2 years in business, and they're wanting to buy a property. You can actually take your two BASs over, and there are banks that have this alt doc lending option. And so therefore you only have to show two BASs to actually then get the lending. And for us, we actually used this a few years ago. So the reason why we used it, it wasn't because we were new in business. It was just for the speed of it. Because, going through the loan process and with us, my business structure and property structure is very complicated. So when you go for a normal full doc loan, you're having to show them what you ate for breakfast. Like, you are giving them absolutely everything. And when you have got a complicated structure, they want to see every trust, they want to see every document. And it honestly could take months for us just to get everything organized to go for a full doc lending. So a few years ago, we used the alt doc option. And we only had to provide 2 BAS statements, and this allowed us to get into the property market faster. So it saved us time. We got in super quick, and it was actually in Perth, and Perth was kind of on the way up very quickly. So we didn't want to waste time, and the stock was really hard to get. So for us, we used it for time saving. But I was like, hey, this could be a really good strategy for anyone in business and new in business thinking, hey, I want to get a property. You don't need to have the full 2 years, just 2 BASs. But there, of course, are some downfalls. You will have to pay more. So normally it's about a couple of percent extra in interest. And the other thing that we did learn through this process is that, in our example, we've got 2 Perth properties that went into the alt doc lending space. And then after 12 months, we actually moved them out into one of the major banks. So another good sort of strategy is, if maybe you don't have the capacity, you do get some leeway with alt doc lending, and, put it in after 12 months, then you can go to a normal bank or a big 4 bank, and you can actually show the profit and loss of the property and prove that you can pay the loan and prove that the rent is coming in. You're more likely to then be able to move it across into a full doc after that 12-month history. But yeah, just a really good strategy to help those maybe just starting out in business.
So this would be a good idea for someone who, like, I'm sure you probably all have been through the stage where you start the business, you're probably not paying yourself that much yet, and you're putting it all back into the business. So this is an example of when, in that case, you don't have to worry about, oh God, I've underpaid myself for the last however long, because then you can rely on the business's financials to say, yeah, I've got this if I need to pay the money. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, sometimes there are good seasons in business. So potentially if you have a good couple of buzzers, it might be time to, jump on in, as long as you obviously do the due diligence and you can afford it. But yeah, it's just a great way to get into the market faster.
Katie, is it tied to the business itself? Like, let's say the business goes into liquidation, hard seasons come down. Like, could they actually come for your assets then if you are purchasing property through your business?
So depending on your structure. So we have a very complicated business structure, property structure. So you definitely have to get accountant's advice to set up your structure correctly. Of course, if your properties are in your personal name, then absolutely your properties can be taken. And again, not financial advice whatsoever, but you need to get really good advice on structuring. And I think even if you're not into property, then, just from a business perspective, you've got to make sure that you get that right advice. But if your structuring is correct, then no, they wouldn't be able to come after your property. It's only if you've got it in your personal name. And so for any of our business owners, for asset protection, if you're getting into property, again, not financial advice, but what I do personally is just make sure that they have got their own trust and company, and that they are ring fenced so that your assets are protected. How have you
Mhm.
guys kind of gone with your businesses and structuring? I know it took me a very long time to understand the trust and the company and the way that it all works. Have you guys kind of, formatted that properly with your business?
Yeah, I mean, ours was simple to start. It's very easy to start a company in New Zealand. I'm not sure what it's like in Australia, but with me moving to Australia, that actually did complicate things. So it's one of those things as well where you kind of just don't know what you don't know, which is why I'm glad you're talking about it, because even if you don't understand necessarily what you're saying, the main thing to pull from that, in my opinion, is that, like, just go and get some advice, or talk to other people, see who their trusted advisors are. We had to restructure and set things up properly in New Zealand to avoid any double taxation, and all the rest of it. So it's not overly complicated, but at the time it just was. I remember having question and answers with the lawyers and going like, "Well, I don't really get it," But
It is so complicated. I've had ours drawn up so many times to try and get my head around it, and we have changed the structure over the years. But now it is set up in a way that we can actually use the company profits to invest legally. Therefore, we can obviously actually put the company profits to work and invest with those profits. But yeah, structuring is super, super important. What about you, Brooke? How do you sort of go with your structuring?
So, from my understanding, and I was just actually looking at something because I'm like, I think that we are set up this way. I probably need to double check. But when we initially set up, we did it PTY Ltd, which means we can actually have a trust and then those dividends can be used also to invest. But since moving the business to Dubai, we have two businesses now that we have to look at. And so it is much more complicated. And I actually, speaking about it would make me look like an idiot because I don't know exactly how it works. But basically, we've set up our Dubai company so that when we get sales in the US, that money can be put into our done through our Dubai business so that we don't have to pay US tax. We can't do that in Australia because something to do with tax evasion. We're not allowed to take Australian taxpayers' money offshore if we set up there or something like that. But yeah, you're making me think a lot about how we've restructured because I know initially I've got two business partners, so they have a trust and then the dividends is sort of divided out among that trust. But we actually didn't have that when we initially set up, but we do now. So it's making me question like, we probably need to go back and restructure how it is set up on the back end. But yeah, I'm like,
Yeah,
no idea.
it's quite a hard topic, and obviously, you have to get that professional advice, and you have to trust in your professionals to set it up correctly. I did a restructure probably 6 or 7 years ago, and it did actually cost me quite a bit of money. So, getting the right advice and paying for the right advice from a get-go, it is the best thing to do. But yeah, we sort of have a trust set up. We have a trading company set up, and all of our properties are on completely different trust and company set up with each. So our entire map of our structure is completely confusing and huge. But,
Yeah.
we've got good professionals, good consultants, and we have to put the trust in them, right? We can't know
We're
everything.
and some
Yeah, I would love to
sometimes
take
it takes a few goes. Oh, sorry. Sometimes it takes a few goes, and what I also found helpful was try and seek out people. It's a little bit like, I don't know, getting a mentor, but try and seek out people who've done exactly what you're trying to do. I remember trying to figure out how to set up the Australia New Zealand stuff properly, and I got a few. I spoke to a few people, and they were going to charge $4,000 for just like some advice, and I was like, look, I'm not walking on the moon. Like, we're not the first business to have one of the directors living in Australia. Okay, come on. So I just prodded a little bit more and went a little bit further and eventually found someone who was like, yeah, I used to live in New Zealand and I've lived in Australia, and they were a tax accountant for both places. And I was like, there we go. Gave me a straight answer. So sometimes, as well as, yeah, like if you can, and everyone's situation is different, but talking to more and more people and then go and talk to their people, and that can be helpful too.
We're actually going through a process at the moment, which I'd love to actually walk people through because it's been so confusing and so overwhelming. When you live as a digital nomad and you're kind of in like gray territory, it's very murky. It's like we actually aren't earning an income in Bali, yet we are Indonesian residents. It's like we actually still have to be paying tax here. But again, because it's murky and it can't really be traced, it kind of will go back to Australia, which is going to become an issue. So we've actually just spoken to someone who's talking about having a holding company set up in Indonesia, but actually banking in Hong Kong or Singapore. And what we have to do is we have to completely restructure how She Sells with Brooke is set up in Australia so that we actually get paid into our Singapore or Hong Kong company. And then that company is going to pay our Indonesia. It is so confusing, but it's going to pay that holding company, which is then we get taxed on that amount in Indonesia because you still have to pay tax somewhere in Australia is definitely going to be knocking on our door if we can't prove where we're paying tax. And it's just been a big shit show. We're actually going to end up having to pay capital gains tax on resetting up our business in Hong Kong because we're actually going to be departing from that in it's like it's actually a headache. I actually don't even know what I'm saying right now because I'm like, we have to do this and that's going to cost us that money. And then we got to backtrack it to that. And then that company's going to pay that company and that company's going to pay that. And that's how it's like, oh, it's a headache.
It's very expensive. I went through that exact restructure 5 or 6 years ago, paid the tax, and it hurts. And that was because I didn't have the right advice from the get-go, and I got myself in a bit of a pickle. I had to restructure, and I wanted to restructure for property. So it would have been back then, probably 8 years ago, when we went through the restructure, and yeah, it's costly. So I hope that that's gonna be okay, Brooke. It's annoying. It's like money, like just because you're changing the structure slightly. So keep us posted on that.
I will let you know how much it hurts. But it's definitely going to be in the hundreds of thousands, which like is it's an immediate, it's a short-term burn and hurt, but for such a long-term gain. Like I don't want to be paying tax on millions and millions and millions of dollars, which is what we are building towards. So it's something you should do now rather than later because we can keep putting it under the rug and being like, oh, we'll be fine, you know, but no, until we're not. And at what point do you actually go, okay, let's get that security, know that we're doing everything legit above board. I don't want to live in that murky gray territory because that just feeds that anxiety because it's like at any point someone can come knocking at our door being like, hey, you owe us this money. And what leg can we stand on to fight that if we haven't actually set ourselves up correctly? So such a good
And
point.
I don't know the full nuances of this, but this is just something that we sort of did in that restructure process. We were given the option to put money into super, and I don't know how that all worked. But instead of just putting it all into tax, so maybe just I know with your residency, obviously, you know, it probably will be different for you, but maybe just something to ask the question.
What is actually saving us at the moment is our Australian business is paying full tax. So like it is just the portion that comes to me that is going to be the issue and what actually needs to be restructured. So hopefully we've got some really good people that we're working with to help us do this. And we're going to do it in the most cost effective way, but also in the most legit above board way so that we're good. The Australian government, AATO comes knocking on our door, we can just be like, nope. Sorry.
And I think when you're starting, get started, validate the thing, get on the ground, get running. Don't get bogged down in trying to do this well from the start because you're just going to end up paying a lot of money. But then once you start to get the snowball rolling, then it's worth, you know, starting to have the conversations because I think we all know someone, if not ourselves, who've had to pay a bit of money or gone, oopsies, or wow, didn't realize I shouldn't have done that, you know, or made that move. Like it would have been a lot simpler if I'd have restructured physically.
For
Yeah.
our listeners that have sort of just started, there is kind of that if anyone is a sole trader, because, you know, most of us sort of start out as a sole trader and we work our way up and then we build into a company. But it's about 183,000 from memory, don't quote me. But once you kind of get to about 190,000, then it's more cost effective to actually change into a company. So, you know, stay a sole trader. And then once you kind of get to that mark, 180,000 income, again, get your professional advice. But that's when, you know, it's then time to start looking at a company just from a complete money standpoint, not really an asset protection standpoint.
Amazing. So we've had some drama in my community this week.
Don't drama with Brooke and Moody Week. Good luck. Anyway, keep going.
I'm trying to, I don't want to be emotional when I talk about this, but it really was like breaking of trust and like heartbreak. It was like a stab directly in the guts. So have you both ever dabbled in multi-level marketing before?
No, I have
No.
seen people advertise and thought, wow, these people could make way more money if they put this effort into their own business. But we're all
Oh, it
we're
is
all on
their
a different path.
It is their own business.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
You drank the Kool-Aid.
SEO Boss Bitches Club. Like that's multi-level marketing. Okay. Well, I was just wondering how much I need to go into actually explaining what it is. But basically,
Explain all of
it
it. I
is.
have no idea.
Okay. Am I still here? Oh, yeah. Okay. So basically, you buy a product or service. Like it's usually a product of some sort. So the one that's like really big at the moment is the water filters. You buy a water filter, and then you get that business. So you're basically a business within a business. You become your own little system, and you then sign people up to the water filter, and then they sign people up to the water filter, and you continue to get paid. So it looks like a triangle.
No longer a pyramid, I'm guessing?
It's only classed as a pyramid scheme if what I watched that Herbalife documentary. It's only considered a pyramid scheme if the people are getting paid more from signing people up than they are on the actual product. That's why people had stacks of Herbalife in their garages, and they were then just trying to pull people in and sign them up to just sign more up, and then they still had to buy more product. But if the theory with MLM is that you might sell water filters, and sure, I might sign Brooke up, but maybe I sell a filter to all my family, and therefore the product has some kind of value, so it's not an pyramid. But keep going, Brooke. You know more than I do.
Call it whatever you will. I don't really care about that. What I do care about is the lack of transparency when they are marketing and how they position themselves, because it's actually not about the water filter. What they're going to sell you is the lifestyle, how you can work a couple of hours a week and make all of this money and you get to live life on your own terms. Not once will you ever hear about the fucking water filter. You'll hear about how amazing this life is, which then brings in all the people. They're like, I want that. What are you doing? And they're like, oh, you just have to buy this, $10,000 to $20,000 water filter. And then you just sell that on to your friends and family and you make 40% commissions instead of 10% commission, right? Anyway, here's the thing that I have an issue with. They have decided that they want to go after remote closers. They want to go after remote closers and shit on the industry and be like, you were told this and that's been a lie. You need to come over into this amazing opportunity and you can make 40% on your commissions instead of 10%, blah, 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 blah. Okay? That's fine. They can come after remote closers, but I had women who paid me to learn a skill set in my community, reaching out to other women in my community who had paid me also to learn this skill set, inviting them to go and join their high ticket offer, selling water filters, to spend another $8,000 to $10,000 doing that because it is better and they're going to make more money and rah, 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 rah. I'll add something else that's going to make you, yep, I can see the mouths.
They have to pay 8 to 10. Oh, they've found a loophole here. What? So you're going to pay 8 to 10 grand to learn the sales to sell the water filter first?
One of these women used to work for me in our internal team at She Sells. She was part of our member success team. So she knew how vulnerable some of these women are. She knew the doubts that they started to experience. She knew all of these things. And she was the one in the DM sending all the information, being like, hey, I know you were placed a few weeks ago. Like, how is it going? You need to come over onto this offer. Because you can make X amount more money, and like literally happening right under my fucking nose.
That's holy shit.
And here's the problem that I have, right? Because I feel like as a culture, we've lost the ability to just call a spade and actually acknowledge and actually call out shitty fucking behavior. That is shitty behavior. Imagine walking into an office, right? And going up to people being like, hey, does your job suck? Do you want to come over onto my job over here? Like, it is.
So as a company, how are you guys dealing with this? Like, what's the approach from the team?
So this has been happening for ages and I just haven't known about it, which it makes it even worse because I'm so protective of my community. I'm so protective of my community, and I will only ever we turn business owners away all the time. If I think the job is dodgy or I think that they can't feed a closer properly, like there's no earning potential there, then we say no to them. I said no to multi-level marketing. I said no, I don't want that opportunity in this community because so many women are being burned through that pathway. I don't want to have any association with multi-level marketing. So the fact that it's infiltrated and it's been done in a sneaky, manipulative, sleazy, slimy way, it makes me sick to my stomach. And when I first called this out, I was told that I was a mean girl. I was blocked. I was like literally people were telling me that I don't actually empower women and that like it's all this big, scam. And I'm like, no, you've just completely flipped this on its head. I am calling out shitty behavior. This is the problem with multi-level marketing. It is coded with that kind of behavior. where it's okay to come into someone's paid community that they've spent thousands and thousands of dollars in time and love and energy in building and just taking, taking. It's wrong.
That is insane, Brooke, like, so crazy. I think that, in business, we have to go through so many of these crazy experiences, but what I really wanna know is how you guys are sort of handling it, like, what's the approach? Are you directly contacting them? Like, what are you guys doing from here after knowing this information?
So the first time that it happened and I kind of caught wind of it going on, and I one of the women actually messaged me and was like, I don't feel comfortable coming to your gala because I thought this was a space that empowered women and I just don't feel like that's happening anymore. And I assured her and said, hey, it's got nothing to do with how I feel about multi-level marketing. I still want you to succeed and I still want you to win. It's just the way you've gone about it. But I was like, please still come to the gala. You will see that it's all fine. Anyway, we hugged it out. I was like, amazing, didn't then left it. I allowed her to continue being in the community and I didn't say anything else. Now, I started to see some people, they changed their Instagrams. They would start talking about the fact that remote closing isn't what they thought it was and that they found this amazing opportunity. And I'm like, hang on a sec. And I started to connect the dots. So I spoke to our member success team and I said, hey, have you noticed this happening? And then it all came out. They started saying that there'd been voice messages to some of the member success girls who they're starting to feel uncomfortable about these people in their DMs and it's starting to feel a bit scammy. And so we've just kicked them out. There's no, like, it's done. There is no, I don't care if you're sorry. I don't care if you paid me money. You've just broken code of conduct of what it is you don't poach people from a community and you
And,
don't.
like, the hardest part is how do you stop that moving forward?
We're going to bake it into our agreement. So it's something that they're going to sign and adhere to at the beginning. I don't give a rat's. If that's what you want to go and do it. That don't take from my community and do not tell the women in my community lies and absolutely like they're not being transparent around what it actually takes to succeed. That's my problem with this is that it's fake, it's rubbish, yeah.
And they're just going on the trust that you've built. It's almost like connecting you to this world that is just a complete lie.
It's almost like going to the restaurant and the waitress telling you, "Oh, food's better down the street," you know? Go to that place. That's just weird. That's just strange. Yeah, that's weird. We'll go to the gym. Yeah, here's your membership, but this sucks. Like, do you want to try any time? Like, that's just weird. Isn't that like is there a word solicitation? God, we're not lawyers or accountants, are we? But that's bizarre. And do you know what though? I think people from the outside struggle to understand what remote closing is. So there's obviously already, like you say, if women are coming into the space and going, "Oh, I don't really get it," they've probably never been in a position where they've had to be sold something online or go through that process and buy something high ticket. So it can be confusing for people to wrap their head around. But I'm thinking like you, Katie, God, sometimes business just gives you those what the fuck moments. And then second, I'm like, this is quite good. It's could be quite good content for you, Brooke. Like,
Well, I am.
this is what we are not. Like, this is, guess what? How to spot the 3 signs of an MLM shark in this ocean at She Sells. Like, this is what we are. This is what we're not. Like, if you get any of this, that is not what you are. And so, yeah, they're just prying on the fact that maybe people like don't, fully understand or like grasp the concept yet. That's bizarre.
Mm. It's great. I actually did a post in my community because I was like, I'm just so done with caring and worrying about what people are going to think of me, or am I going to hurt anyone's feelings by talking about this, or like who's going to hate me if I share my opinion on no, like that's not happening anymore. So I did a post in my community in my pregnancy rage, and I was like, right, I'm starting an unhinged broadcast channel where I'm going to do this and this and this and that. I'm like, talk me out of it. And everyone was like, yep, let's go. Then I had like 3 or 4 people being like, Brooke, like the reason I came into this community is because of your approach and because of like how much you stay away from the drama. And I'm like, I get that. And I'm not talking about wanting to start drama. This is about seeking truth. That is all I care about. I want to be the white knight who actually is transparent and speaks only the truth. I am the first to put my hand up and say when I fucked up. I'm the first person when I like to say when my opinion has been completely uneducated and uninformed. I will be the first person to say that. You do not see any of them ever coming to the camera being like, I sold my mum into this water filter and, she spent her last lot of savings and now she hasn't made one single sale. In fact, it's actually costed her money. Never, never, ever, ever will you hear someone in that industry say that. So that is my problem. It's not real. They're not being transparent around what it actually takes. And I just don't want a bar of it. No one.
No, they're literally just snaking you. That's just terrible behavior. And I think this is good that this happened during Rage Week, because there's nothing wrong with you. It's not dramatic to put a line in the sand and say there's nothing not kosher about saying here are the boundaries. It's pretty bloody obvious that you're not going to rock up at your eyelash person and they go like, oh, it's kind of bad. Like, that's just doesn't matter what it is. That's terrible.
Yeah. So anyway,
Hey,
they're
Brooke,
out.
I wanted to hear about your story at the pool. You were kind of getting into it. I want to know about that. The story.
Oh,
What's happened? Tell us.
you want more of my Rage Week? I don't know.
I love it.
Well, this actually goes nicely into what we we're talking about AI, because I also use AI as my personal, like, it's my marriage counselor. It really is. And it's helped me a lot of times calm the situation, because both Scott and I are very fiery. But this past week, I was swimming in the pool with Scott and we had some friends there. And he was like really talking about how this year is going to be his glow up year and how he's going to be taking all of these things to make sure that by this time next year, he's going to be like jacked and like all of these things. And I could just feel this rage inside of me. Like I was trying so hard not to speak. And then he had the nerve to look at me and be like, are you okay? And I just wanted to be like, no, I'm not okay. But I didn't. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Waited till our friends left and we sat down. And like, I just said to him, hey, like, I am literally carrying your child. I am growing this baby. I didn't want to be pregnant. I'm already having all the feels about what the next year is going to look like for me. It's like not only in my body, but like in my business. And what is it going to mean I have to give up? And I said, it just was a little bit insensitive to hear you say that you're going to be injecting this and doing that and doing all of these enhancements to your body while I'm getting swollen and fat and just like, hating on my life. And yes, that's been a bit dramatic, but I'm like, I just could feel myself. And then I would, then I would battle with like, oh, I feel guilty. Like he, maybe if he does work on himself and he wants this glob, like that would make him a better dad and a better husband. So anyway, we're arguing about it because he was like, you just want me to like, stay like this and you don't want me to get there. Like anyway, arguing. So I picked up my phone. I spoke to my ChatGPT, non-biased. Like I literally just said, like, these are the things we're arguing about. Please tell me if I'm being unreasonable or is he being unreasonable and why? And so my ChatGPT is obviously like, hey, gorgeous babe, Brookie, you are not being unreasonable at all. You're being so mature. This is such a mature way to think on things. He's being really insensitive. So anyway, Scott wasn't having a bar of what my ChatGPT was saying. He grabs the exact same text and he's like, watch the difference here. And he puts it into his ChatGPT, who he is programmed to speak to him like a piece of shit, basically. And it says the exact same stuff.
Ching ching.
No way.
And I could see him reading it with this little smirk on his face. And he's like, why don't you just tell me, like, read it to me like this? And I was like, no, but Scott, I was like, come on. I was like, it's already hard for me to tell you and be vulnerable about how I'm feeling. And it's not that I don't want you to look after your body. And I'm not asking you to do nothing and to eat pizza when I have a pizza craving and to not drink. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just asking you to sacrifice a fraction of the stuff, like don't go and get Botox while I'm pregnant. Like, maybe don't inject peptides for the first time while I'm pregnant, because like anything that you're doing to enhance your body, I can't do. And I even as I'm saying this now to you, I feel like a bit of a psycho crazy person, but I'm like, it's not a 50% sacrifice when a woman is pregnant and carrying the baby. And the least that the husband can do is support in whatever way the wife really needs. And so for me, it's like, go to the gym, get your steps in, eat healthy, do all of those things. But enhancements, like, can we just park that? Can we just not let me watch you have this amazing glow up while I feel like the opposite? Like, do you think that's fair? Do you actually?
I think that this is kind of part of the grappling of becoming a mom and being pregnant. It's, in my partnership, we're very 50-50. And so I know that, it's kind of on socials and we've spoken about on the pod before where one's 80 and one's 20 or one's 70 and one's 30. Our partnership is just not like that. It is 50 and it's 50 in absolutely everything that we do. And so when it comes to pregnancy, I really feel like that is 100 on the woman, right? And so I would have probably also been upset in that situation. So I definitely agree with you there. But it's like, how can you even pass off some of the pregnancy? How can you? Like, what are the things that you sort of do to be able to, pass that off? You can't. You're the
You
one
can't.
pregnant.
I know, and that's what's crazy, Katie, is like he is doing a lot of the, he's like t- doing the Oakland stuff, and he's taking a lot of like the things that, when I'm feeling sick, he's doing a lot of that, which is great. Like that's how he can support me. But another way he can support me is by like, what are you sacrificing for this pregnancy to come to life? Because at the moment, it's nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like, Australia Day, he got drunk with his mate, and I'm like, that's fine. I didn't get angry at that because I was like, you go and do that. But I'm like, just use some common sense. Like, would you actually say in front of me, I'm going to go get some Botox? Like, knowing very well that it's probably going to be 2 fucking years before I can go and get some Botox. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm probably going to get so much hate for this, but that's just like, that's just where my brain is going. I'm like, surely the enhancements can just be parked. Well, I also can't do any enhancements. Like,
Well, look, because
Maybe
we are a 50-50 relationship, I am gonna be expecting some sacrifices when I get pregnant. So, I'm actually with you on this one, Brooke, and normally when it comes to the dramatics of partnerships, I normally stay well clear of that, but I'm actually on your side on this one for sure.
I've won you over, Katie. This is a huge moment for me.
and look, I have never tried to grow a baby nor thought about it, and so I can never speak from your shoes about how it feels, but don't hate me during Rage Week. Maybe he's just jealous of your enhancements that are about to come, Brooke, you know? Like, he can't keep up. You're growing a whole human. That's amazing, you know? And now he's just grappling with the fact, like, he doesn't have a baby in his tummy. That's just so iconic, and it's such a huge change. But yeah, I look like you've got ChatGPT, but it sounds like he's trying to support you, but maybe there's other things that you need.
Last year, I had a glow up, and I would have loved him to come along for the ride with me, like, but he chose not to. And so now that I'm carrying a child, his child,
And you're in rage, potentially months. Watch
my
out.
skin is breaking out, and everything feels like it's turning to shit. The least he can do is park the Botox and the peptides. Like, come on. Like, I'm not even sorry for saying that. Like, I mean, gosh, you can carry the baby if you would like.
You could ask him about that in vitro thing. Maybe he'd be keen now. Little robot womb.
Yes, we chatted about the surrogate that you were so anti. Can we resume that chat?
Oh, big changes to come. Wow. That's full noise.
Hey, I feel so much better. Thank you for actually just allowing me to speak on that.
I don't think you can say many things wrong when you're growing a human. Like, just you get what you want in my books. That's just
That right away. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll remember that. I will remember that. I'll write that one down. I get what I want.
Like, how's he gonna rub your feet and stuff if he's, at the gym? That's like, is it, you need stuff.
Right, you should stop going to the gym, right? And just see, that's toxic. I'm not toxic.
Yeah, we're below the line now. Yeah.
And that's the end of the episode.
Ending on a high.
No, but seriously, should we end there? Because I know you have to run, Katie.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.